It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chris.
It's time to take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Be sure to listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and other popular podcast platforms. We also bring you Inside the Podcast each week, where you can view the podcast via our YouTube channel. Join the thousands who watch each week. Thanks to our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, the Insurance Alliance Group LLC, our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. And our donors, Justin O'Neill, Winsight Media, and Redwood Investments. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Here's your host, Curtis Cross.
Welcome to episode 17 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am your host, Curtis Cross, and with me as always is Coach Steve Turner, Coach Casey O'Neill, and Paula joins us again this week as our engineer. DJ Chrissy will be back, but in her absence, we are thankful that Paula is filling in. We'd like to thank our partners, Healthy Baller, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, the Tamara Cusick Team, Ray Cruz, and MCF Mortgage and Insurance Alliance Group LLC. We enjoyed last week's guest, Ken Marangolo, as he took a TO with us. So if you missed it, please go back to episode 16 and join the nearly 2,000 viewers and listeners who tuned in. Now let's hear from our crew. Fellas, how are we doing this week? How was the weekend?
The weekend was great. Just another opportunity to spend some time with the family, hang out a little bit, enjoy some football. Great seeing my Washington football team beat those Cowgirls.
You know it. Doesn't matter who's injured and all that.
If that's the only win we get all year, I mean, certainly it's our second, but if that's the only one, Coach Turner's always going to be happy. And I would just say I'm excited about today's episode. Opportunity to talk about, I think, two really great coaches in their respective sports, and excited for the people in the community to get to know a little more about them.
Coach, couldn't agree more. Two great guests today, two great men, two great just individuals who I think speak their truth. I think you said exactly the things that I said about the weekend. Good weekend, family time. Had a couple fires in the fireplace this weekend.
Ooh, how fun.
And I have a new favorite football player.
Talk. No, don't say it. Please don't say it, because I'm going to get to something later that you didn't see. Did he play last night?
Oh, he did.
I'm going to talk about it later. I'm going to talk about it later.
Okay. Maybe it's the...
I wrote it in.
The two of you.
Thunder, Steeler.
It's
every week you guys are reading each other's minds.
It's
when
the
I
bromance.
saw this, if I think what it is, and I'm not going to spoil it, I got so fired up. I could not believe it.
I saw someone grow up right before my eyes last night.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about it. I got it right here.
We'll see if it's there. So,
all right, Paula, we didn't scare you away last week, and you are back for week 17. Tell our listeners about your weekend.
This weekend we had a couple of photo shoots, and today you sent me a stat from yesterday's Buffalo Bills game, which was kind of interesting.
I'm about to use it.
Oh, well, then go right ahead.
wait, were these family photos?
Well, we did family photos not for us, but for other families.
Got it. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Cool. Fair enough.
All right. Well, this week we welcome DeMatha head coach Mike Jones to the podcast, along with Mr. Bobby Horsey, who is known locally and across the national lacrosse community. Also, we have a great World Series to discuss. One of us is closer to $1 than the other, but we won't talk about that. We will hear from Joey T, and of course, the NFL had an eventful weekend. Here are a few stats from the voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Mr. Sean Parker. Speaking of a crazy season in the NFL, I've got 3 stats for you. The NFC is the first division in NFL history without a 3-win team through Week 7.
Wow.
That's stat number one.
A lot of 2-win teams.
Yes. The Bills won yesterday without scoring a TD or punting. The last time that happened, Washington beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1941. That is not a typo. The Brooklyn Dodgers were a football team in 1941.
Wow.
You know what I heard out of that?
What?
Buffalo won.
That's what you heard. And last but not least, the Patriots have lost 3 in a row. The last time that happened, the Texans had their first season. Rich Gannon was the MVP, and the Browns made the playoffs. Gentlemen, how crazy are we living through this NFL season?
All I can say is it's not just a season. It's just
2020.
2020. Period. That's all I can say to that.
We're a few
It's
months away
2020.
from it, but it's been wild. And this past weekend of football was wild.
Interesting stat. A week ago, go to buy Jared lunch. Ring up the food.
All right.
Bill comes to 2020.
Oh, no.
The lady at the cash register started looking at each other and just start laughing. She says, I know exactly where you're going. I said, yes, I am. Right around the corner to 7-Eleven, and I've played 2020 dollars straight for the last 2 weeks.
I thought you were going to
Add something onto that.
add something onto it so it wasn't 2020.
Now,
Yeah,
the
food
day,
was spoiled or
the
something.
first day that I played it, though, the midday came 020.
Okay. The 3-digit.
3-digit came 020.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right, well, let's go to break, and we are coming right back. O'Neill Development is a construction, remodeling, and development firm that has been active in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore since 1975. O'Neill Development specializes in custom residential work, providing extensive pre-construction and construction services. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Be sure to listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
Coach Turner here. Check out this week's episode drop and tell a friend to join the team at Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill by following, subscribing, and liking the show. One headline is brought to you by
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
And now our one headline. We discussed Antonio Brown in a past episode a few days ago. The Bucks signed Brown to a one-year deal worth up to $2.5 million with incentives. According to sources, Tom Brady was a big proponent for signing Brown. Russell Wilson was apparently lobbying for Brown as well. Brady and Brown in the locker room last season. He had him in the locker room last season, albeit for just 11 days. And now the duo will pair up in Tampa. Is this a last shot for Antonio Brown?
It's hard to say if this is a last shot for him. It sure feels like it, though. I will say that much. You see Tom Brady, and cool to see Russell Wilson advocating for that young man. What I'm worried about is in Tampa, I mean, Mike Evans, Gronk, Godwin, the other tight end, Brait. They've got Leonard Fournette. They got Jones. And they got Shady McCoy. Did you know Shady McCoy plays on the Buccaneers too?
know that.
So all those players, can they all coexist? Is there enough? Because Antonio, after a while, he's going to want to
want the ball.
And Tom does a great job spreading it out. If you look at the receivers and you look at how Tampa's run their offense, everybody's getting a little bit of theirs. But is he going to be okay with that? Is he going to be okay with maybe more attention to somebody else?
I think that will still be an issue, irregardless of how much he spreads it around.
Right.
Because spreading it around still means he doesn't get as much as he probably is going to want the ball.
He's the feature receiver.
He's going to want the ball. But it was, Tom jumped on that pretty quick because they were talking Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they were.
And Tom Brady said, I'm still the big dog, and I'm going to find a way to get me one more championship with another team. And going to get that guy can help them do that.
So, but do you think it's the last stop, though? How old is Antonio Brown?
That I do not know, but I'm going to get you an answer before you stop talking.
I think I don't know if it's the last stop. It's going to really come down to how the whole season plays out.
And then how also do you think that? So he had to serve a 8-game or 7-game suspension,
right?
But he is serving it while not
playing
on a roster. Or
he's
not
32
under contract. 32. So he's still got a couple.
He'll be 33 in July. Actually, when is your birthday?
June 10th.
June 10th. I don't know why I always mess your birthday up. July 10th, my grandmother's birthday, actually. My mother's birthday, who has passed. 1988, so he'll be 33 next summer.
Well, I will say I hope mentally, spiritually, that he's in a good place. So hopefully he can get out there. But hopefully there's enough balls to go around.
I think, I'll be honest, I think what Tampa's doing there, and someone told this to me, props to Joey T. He said, keep the defenses honest.
I thought about that too, like Deshaun Jackson factor. You know, somebody that maybe's not there like he used to, but still keeps you honest. And
you got to put somebody over there.
Yeah.
And if you put someone who's not ready, well, he can go over the top on you, right?
Yep. Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and well, did you want to get to what you wanted to talk about? I cut you off.
No, it's okay. So before ladies and gentlemen, my new favorite player is DK Metcalf, and the reason being, I did have him on fantasy last year, and it wasn't the greatest, but he's getting there. That receiver, he's got his numbers. He's got to be 6'4", 225 or something. He is a monster.
He's a monster.
So there was an interception. Russell Wilson threw a very rare interception, and he threw one later in that game, but pick six all the way,
You
down.
couldn't have told me otherwise.
Right, and so to see the replay of DK Metcalf, who the ball wasn't going to, for a split second, like everybody go,
right,
pick, boom,
and then what did he do?
Took off. That corner had maybe 15 to 20 yards on him, and that corner they were saying runs a 4.45, and he caught him.
He turned on the Jets.
That I love.
You know who reminded me
never
of?
give up. Daryl Green.
Daryl Green, baby.
Yeah.
Think of all the guys. Think of all the big dogs.
You just never
he
give
hawked
up.
down.
You just never give up.
He hawked down all the big dogs.
Sure.
At some point in time in his career.
Absolutely. Tony Dorsett.
Yep.
Rice.
Who else?
Dickerson, I think.
Eric Dickerson.
You can keep naming them. He
Roger Craig, probably all those guys.
He got all of them.
So that play last night, why, kids, do you never give up? Because you know what? Obviously, like that didn't change the game. A lot happened late, but the Cardinals didn't end up scoring in that possession. They ended up going for a 4th and goal on that same possession. So they got it all the way down to the 5. And instead of just kicking the field goal, they didn't get in.
Right.
And just to see that hustle, new favorite player, at least this week.
At least this week. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your one headline.
I'm Coach Casey O'Neill with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Advertising opportunities are available, so why not gain the exposure of our listeners by becoming a donor, sponsor, or partner? Simply contact our producer, Curtis Cross, and we can get you started today.
Thanks to our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media.
Winsight Media, connecting the food and allied retail industries through research, media, and events. Visit www.winsightmedia.com for more info.
Redwood Investments. We are a private investment firm providing growth capital for acquisitions, roll-ups, and management-led buyouts. Visit redwoodinvestments.com or call 202-333-1395.
If you have a question for the fellas, submit your question or show idea right on our website. Go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit Your Idea.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Friends of the Podcast. Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. The starting 5. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our starting 5 questions for each coach. They each get 30 seconds each. to answer these questions, and they can also defer once per group of starting five, Coach Turner. Let's start with Coach Turner. Documentary or reality show, how would an audience best get to know you?
That's a good question.
That's a real good question.
Is it a documentary or a reality show?
I think a documentary. I don't know. A reality show could be fun to get to know me.
Right.
But I think a documentary.
Coach O'Neill.
I'll go the other way there. I'll go reality show. Just the ins and the outs, the behind the scenes. I mean, you guys know what
A clown you are?
Yeah. But at the same time, I can be a clown. I can be serious. I can be open. I can be honest. I can goof. I think reality show for me.
All right. We'll come back to you, Coach O'Neill. You're starting tied in. Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, or Jason Witten?
Woo.
And by the way, Paul, let people know what happens if Coach O'Neill goes over his time. There you go. All right, so we going Gronk, we going Tony Gonzalez, or Jason Witten?
I'm going to go Gonzalez.
All right.
Love Gronk. Jason Witten is steady Eddie. Would have loved to have seen Tony get that Super Bowl championship. And I just feel like he was the best all-around block, receive, could do it all.
All right, Coach Turner.
Kind of want to go with Coach O'Neill on that one, and I think it's just because of the basketball factor with him.
He did play
That is
basketball.
true.
He's a hoop.
Was it not USC, was it? I can't remember where he played.
No, he was. No,
I'll look it up.
it's a good question, but I think it's Cal, actually.
Oh, really?
I think you're right, yeah.
But I hate to say this.
You can say Jason Witten, aren't you?
Jason Witten.
All right. He is a Cowboy.
He just always got it done. I mean, and all three of those guys got it done in their own way. But I guess watching Witten so much because of the rivalry with our Washington football team, and to see him burn us a lot of times and burn the teams in our conference, I got to go with Witten.
It was Cal. You're correct. It was Cal. Coming back to you, Coach O'Neill, name a moment in your life that you'd like to relive again.
Ooh.
I would like to go back to college,
Okay.
and not for the reasons that people think.
Okay. Well, we don't know until you tell us.
Yeah, not for the sort of using those freedoms that you get when you first go to college. I
Right.
think to just hunker down a little more, focus on. Not that I didn't work hard. It took a little while to kind of get myself that
It's taking you a
organized.
little while to get to this answer.
Well, I still have about 10 seconds.
I don't know. That's
I'll
not
go back to college.
correct.
Ooh, Coach Turner, moment in your life you'd like to relive again.
High school.
All right.
Certainly, as a coach now of young men in high school, the things that I've learned by being a coach and a mentor, there's a lot of things that I would have told my adolescent self to do differently and would have done differently. It may have been some life-changing
Right.
things, so I would say high school.
All right, Coach Turner, deep dish, New York style or Litos? And what's on your pizza?
You said deep dish?
New York style or like a Litos style pizza?
Oh, either or.
Right.
I'm going Lido style. And what's on it? Pepperoni and sausage.
Oh, I did not know that. That's all you need.
That's it.
That's all you need.
That's it.
Coach O'Neill.
Love Litos, but I'm going deep dish.
All right.
Got to go deep dish. Meat lover too. I got to put as many as you can on there. So it'd be sausage, pepperoni, put a little chicken. You could put some jalapenos as well. Not the meat, but like some little spice.
Don't
to
invite
it.
me to your pizza party.
Come on, just load it up. Let's go.
Paula, you're going deep dish, aren't you?
Yeah, deep dish, unless you can throw in a buffalo pizza.
Oh, my goodness. They do sheet pizzas in Buffalo that are as big as that table. They do. I swear. I've seen it. Like when they order
And
an
the
extra
tailgates,
large,
too.
it's
Right? The tailgates outside the stadium.
Oh,
they
yeah.
go crazy for it.
Can I just tell you something? I love my Redskins. I've been to a ton of tailgates. No one does it like Buffalo.
Nobody.
Nobody. It's 5, 6, 7 days in advance, and they are there. Like I'm 2 hours early, and I think I'm doing something. Nope, they're there. And there's a guy who tailgates who has a jug of milk, and every year he pours out some and drinks it. And this is like 10 plus years in the making.
I bet you Green
Look
Bay's
him
up.
up.
I bet you Green Bay's up there too. Those folks up there in the frozen tundra
With no shirts on when it's freezing? Yeah, those
they're
guys?
probably the
Snow.
bratwursts and the
yeah.
hoagies. They're Chicago too, maybe.
All right, we're coming back to you for the last one. Your starting point guard, Magic, Chris Paul, or John Stockton?
Magic. Showtime, baby.
All right,
Showtime.
What you got?
You already know who I'm going to say. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's the Magic Man.
The Magic Man. He's 6'9". He can see over everybody. He can see the whole floor.
I could watch his highlights all day.
His ability to do a little bit of everything. And then I just always go back to the game when Kareem is out.
Right.
And he's
posting
down
up.
there winning games with the skyhook.
Did he sit on the airplane in Kareem's seat and said, "Have no fear, number 32 is here"?
Yes.
As a rookie, right?
Yes.
As a rookie when Kareem was injured. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting five. The starting five.
Hi, this is Coach Casey O'Neill, and I'm inviting you to join me, Coach Turner, and the Take a TO team for this Thursday's episode drop.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by...
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Can you feel the power?
You become the star right here with the DJ Chrissy Karaoke Show. Choose your song and step to the mic.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest leads a storied DeMatha men's basketball program in Hyattsville, Maryland. Playing in what many of us consider to be the toughest conference in America, the WCAC, Mike Jones is also a part of Team USA basketball. Having coached several players who are now in the NBA, Jones succeeded a legend in Morgan Wooten and has continued the success of the DeMatha program. We are thrilled to have him join us today. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the DeMatha Stags, Mr. Mike Jones. Mike, what's up, fella? You there?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. Thanks for joining us for today's podcast. Mike, I believe you are no stranger to the gentlemen here in the studio, Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill. Gentlemen, greet our guest.
Mike and Steve, man, I would just want to say thank you again for coming on our podcast. Really appreciate having you today.
I was wondering what was taking you so long, man.
Hey, Mike, Coach O'Neill here from a different sport, lacrosse, but I've been asking him for weeks.
Kate?
How are you? I've been asking him for weeks, and they're like, "No, we're gonna let Mike wait a little bit and just hold on."
Yeah, I figured I'd be like not the debut episode, but at least in the first 10.
I tried.
Mike, I lobbied for it, but they told me, we'll get to Mike when we get to him. That's what they said.
Nah,
Don't listen to this stuff. Don't listen to this stuff.
Oh, Mike, it's great to have you here. Missed seeing you last summer, but Mike, let's get into the conversation. I know this school year and subsequently basketball prep looks different than any year in your coaching history. As you are in the admissions office and on the court, what does this look like for you and your student athletes?
It's an ever evolving thing. Like it's you get information this week, but then it'll be different next week, and it was different last week. So. Just being able to be flexible and adaptable in this situation, and like everybody else, I think we're praying for everyone's safety, but we're also praying for a season. And, we just got our fingers crossed hoping that happens.
Well, we need that. We need that, Coach, because I need to get my fashion tips. I see those suits you wear. I want to see a couple games and see what you're wearing. You pull off the no tie thing better than anybody. You know that, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I just try to, look the part on the sideline. I figure if I at least look the part, maybe I can halfway coach. So, but no.
All right, thanks for that, man. Coach Turner, what you got?
Mike, tell the listeners today, what is your why? Why is it that you coach? Why do you serve young men of the DeMatha community, and not just the DeMatha community, all over the country? I mean, you're a part of USA Basketball. Your experiences with Nike Basketball, your experiences with the NBA Players Camp. Talk to the listeners about your why.
Yeah, for someone who grew up playing the game, and the lessons that I learned from the game and the contacts and relationships that were created by me being able to play basketball. I kind of look at it as like the reason I need to coach, not just want to, but need to, is to provide opportunities for today's young men or young athletes. And, whether they be from DeMatha, whether they be from this area, or, just any young student athlete I come in contact with, if I can just help them in some way, shape, or form along their journey, I think that's what I'm here for. At least as of right now, I think that's my job.
Thank you.
Coach Casey here. So, Mike, talk to me. I always like to ask the guests things they would have done differently. So go back to when you started as a head coach. Is there anything you would do differently when you first became head coach at DeMatha?
Yeah, is this an hour-long podcast?
Well, here's the thing, Mike. We own the podcast. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Case. Like, I think every coach, if we look back, we can pinpoint things we would have done differently. But, I think, the unique situation that I have, and Steve knows I say this all the time, like, there's not many people that coach basketball, at least, that went through something that he and I both went through. Having to follow someone that was so storied, so successful,
right,
so popular. And I know one of the things that coaches told me was to do it my way and to be myself. And it was just so hard to really embrace that. Growing up coaching under him, playing for him, and then obviously just the simple fact that he was so successful, it was just really hard to do anything differently than what he did. So I didn't. I was stubborn. I tried to do it the way he did, and I was not as good as being Coach Wooden as Coach Wooden was. So it took me a while to really kind of find my own track and my own, kind of way of doing things. But eventually we did, and we've had some success with that. But, I think that list is way too long. There's plenty of things I could have changed. But to simply stated, I would have not tried to be just like Coach Wooden right away, and I would have really just embraced being myself, in year one.
Mike, and it's funny that you talk about that and say that's one of the things that you definitely would change. Is it was guys like you, and I also have to say, Coach Paul DeStefano, that when I did take over, you guys taught me that lesson early. Like the calls you guys made to me to say, "Hey, Steve, you got to trust yourself. Don't let others influence your way. Do it your way." And for a guy that, everyone looks at us as two big rivals, for you to be able to be kind enough and man enough to reach out to me when I started to say that. And I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, Steve, if I'm being honest, man, and this is real heart to heart, I remember sitting there, and I think it was year 3 for me in your first year, and I just knew what you were going to do. I knew it. And I was just like, if there was anybody when I was in my first year that would be able to, that could have helped me along the way, I would have loved it. And a coach named Kevin Sutton, who you and I both know very well, he was reaching out to me doing the same thing for me during my first season. So, you know, I almost feel like I owed it to him to make sure I did that for someone when that opportunity came about. And, you know, again, I know what you went through, man. So I know I was driving myself crazy and everyone around me crazy. So I just tried to contribute to your growth.
Coach, January was a tough year. 2020 has been a tough year, but January was a tough year. David Stern from the NBA, Kobe, and we lost Morgan Wooten. For those living under a rock who don't know who Morgan Wooten is, that's a program that he built. You played in, you came back. You were an assistant. You took over the program. Please speak a little bit to that. That's another one of those how long do we have kind of questions, but please speak a little bit to that. You played in the program. You saw what he did. You came back. You've taken over the program that you've made your own. People want to come play for Mike Jones, and I don't say that they have forgotten what it means to play in a Morgan Wooten gym, but please talk a little bit about that. Explain to our listeners who may not know, who are across the world. I looked this week at our stats, and we had a couple people from France and Australia listening to us. Tell those folks, dumb it down. Talk about Morgan Wooten just for a quick second in that program.
Well, first of all, it's an honor. Like every year that I've coached, we played in either the Morgan Wooten Gymnasium or the Morgan and Kathy Wooten Gymnasium. So, you know, I joke with people all the time, but you know, I have a constant reminder of the standard that was set by what I believe to be one of the greatest coaches of any sport, of any level. And he was just that. I mean, he did everything as a gentleman. You know, I don't think you can find one referee that ever coached one of Coach Wooten's games that would say he cursed. You never saw Coach Wooten lose his cool. And then just the fact that he prepared for everything. He truly was a man who, you know, taught me the importance of preparation and being prepared for any situation, anything that comes up. You know, he's left a long legacy of a lot of coaches, a lot of players, his impact on the game. But, you know, the game that we see today, you know, Coach Wooten's fingerprints are all over it.
You know, something that I haven't told many people, I got my first paid coaching job at a small school in D.C., the Edmund Burke School, in 97. Steve, I'm sure I called you and you helped me get that job. But, Mike, I wasn't ready for that job. But you know what made me ready? I picked up a book with a gray cover with a guy's face on it who I'd never met named Morgan Wooten, and that book was called Coaching Basketball. And I picked that book up, and I made my girls run suicides not for punishment, but for conditioning, because he said that in that book. And that was where I started coaching in the off-season program and this, that, and the other. And I never met the guy. I probably came within, you know, a couple dozen feet of him a couple times, and I never met him. But he had an impact on me. I never met him. I'm coaching on the girls' side. Right. But I'm like, if I pick up this book, Coaching Basketball, and read what Morgan Wooten says, I'll probably be able to get some of these things right. So, you know, I thank the DeMatha community for sharing Morgan Wooten with all of us, even those of us who never really spoke to him or shook his hand, you know?
He's a Blair man also.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have plenty of people who are involved in this game to this day that, like, they've never met Coach Wooten either and never been within feet of him. But what they're teaching, like, you know, anyone that, you know, teaches their players to take a charge, like, that's a Coach Wooten influence. Like, they're just off the top. Anytime you see an offensive foul in the NBA game, NCAA game, high school game, whatever, FIBA game, like those, that's a Coach Morgan Wooten influence, and that I won't say he invented the charge, but he taught how to take charges, and he was the first coach that anybody knows of that really made that something to do. So
his influence is everywhere. Coach Casey.
Mike, so I love kind of reading the body language of the coaches. You get to watch these incredible games, the matchups with you and Steve and the rest of the league, and you always have a very calm presence. And I know when you have had this opportunity to come. Yeah, it looks can be deceiving. I get that.
But a strong voice, too, though.
Oh, yeah, you can bark them out. But what is your number one principle that you're teaching the boys at DeMatha? You guys are always well coached. You're always hustling. You're always working hard. But if you could pick one principle, day one, tryout practice, what is that? What is that principle you're teaching the boys?
I would say that's a great question, Casey. I'd say resiliency, just being able to deal with success, but also being able to deal with situations when things are not going in your favor, whether it be, on the court, the referee didn't call a foul or the coach, isn't playing you the way you want to play you, or you feel like your teammate missed you when you were open, like whatever it is, being able to fight through that and still have the focus and give the same effort. But then that goes beyond the court. Like your teacher didn't give you the grades you think you should have gotten, or your boss didn't give you the promotion that you worked so hard for, or, your relationships aren't going exactly the way you want it to. Like it's just something that, being resilient and being able to fight through any and every obstacle. That's what I want to be able to preach to my team. That you're going to fight through no matter what.
I love it. That's a great answer. And then second part of this, you've had some great games with Gonzaga over the years. It's been a great rivalry, and I love hearing you and Steve talk about the respect behind the scenes, because I think a lot of people don't see that, right? Gonzaga, DeMatha, St. John's Paul VI, all these different rivalries, but the coaches behind the scenes, and I'm going to get to another question later, truly care about one thing: the young men in their programs, young men and women. But what's it like for you? I mean, what are you teaching the guys when you going up against Coach Turner? Let's get a little inside when you're standing across that sideline looking over at Steve and a couple little inside jokes maybe going on. What can the audience expect to hear from Mike?
I got my pen out too.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'll tell you this. Like, you'll see, Steve and I will have a laugh and a joke before every game we've ever coached. We'll go over. But 10 minutes into the game, we might be screaming at each other. Like, but then when the game's over with, we're going to congratulate, say we'll see you next time. And then, shoot, I know Steve's called me on his way home before. I've called him on the bus ride back to DeMatha before, like after we've had, an overtime game or a one-possession game.
Right.
Like the respect is definitely there, and that will never change. And, our programs are very similar to the extent that, our players play with each other all the time. They know each other. They grew up together. They're best friends. They go to parties on the weekends together. Like, so the same thing that Steve and I go through, like, I want my players to feel that too. Like, hey, I know you're friends, Hunter, you're friends with Terrence, but hey, you're going to laugh and joke with them before the game. You can love them after the game, but during that game, like, hey, this is a competition, and I need you to want to kick his butt.
Right.
And so that's what they're going to get. So I think it's good for them to see Steve and I communicate with each other and smile and laugh and joke and everything before that ball gets tossed up. But then they also see how fiery and competitive we can be within those 32 minutes of the game.
Amen.
And if we're lucky as fans, 37 or 42 minutes because we get some overtime. As fans, we want to see that.
Unfortunately, that's happened.
It has happened. Mike, I'm going to take you away from DeMatha for a minute. USA basketball. You've done an unbelievable job with your work with the USAB program. It's a two-part question. Talk us through the run to the gold 2 summers ago. And then talk to us about what influences from USA basketball do you feel you've added to your program at DeMatha?
Okay. Well, thankful to the whole entire Union National Team program and staff, because Steve, like there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes with just getting people invited to come to camp and then having to select a team that is going to represent all of us in international competition. So, summer 2019, we're the first time ever competing without Don Showalter on the sideline. Mr. Perfect, 10 years, 10 gold medals, never lost a game, average margin of victory is like 40. He never lost in FIBA competition. So Just like following behind Coach Wooten, I had to follow behind that. And in our first game, we were losing 22-5 in the first quarter of the first game. Like we were really, we were getting run off the floor, and it was embarrassing. We were in Brazil, like no one was cheering for us. It was one of those things where, again, you talk about resiliency. I literally had to really look within myself and find that resiliency. And then to be able to kind of communicate that to the guys. But, we picked the right team because they were able to handle that. And we wound up winning that game and then winning the next 5 games on the track to get the gold medal. And we were looking forward to going for a world championship this summer that, obviously COVID took away. But going through that experience is going to help any of those players, but it's also going to help me and, whatever staff we have in competitions going forward, because we had to fight through that situation. And then, what I bring to DeMatha from USA is honestly, Steve, everything. Like everything. Yeah. Like, just organization of it. We're fortunate enough in USA, we get, everyone's elite. Like every single player, truly, Steve, you and I coach guys. All of our players think they're playing Division I basketball. All of our players think they're going to the NBA. But when we get with USA, all of those guys think they are, but they probably are.
Right.
Like they probably are. They're definitely Division I players, but they probably are future NBA players. And, bringing in guys like yourself and the other coaches that we get from around the country, being able to manage those, the birth of their careers is something that is really, 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 we value the responsibility that we get with that. But I think, like you, I look at my team the same exact way. Like we truly look at them as opportunities to really launch their career. It just may not be basketball, but their experiences that they're going to have with us will definitely help mold and shape the person that they become. And I think that's the most important thing.
Coach, great answer. I got to get to a very serious question here. I've heard up at Alhambra that some of the coaches might cut a rug a little bit. Is it true?
Are you serious? Are you serious right now? I was going to mention that. I swear I was.
Were you really?
I swear I was. I've seen the videos.
Can you deny or not deny who's got the best moves in the WCAC coaching staff? I've heard some.
Well, I'm a huge competitor, and I don't like to lose anything. But I will tell you this right now: I will play Steve Turner in basketball, golf, checkers, cards, like whatever you want. I will not have a dance contest with you.
I've seen those Alhambra videos myself.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I will not.
All right.
Steve Turner.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Steve Turner is very light on his feet.
All right, Mike, a couple things. One, I've seen you at your wedding. And I think it was that summer of your wedding. I walked into your office during one of your camps, and I've got to tell on myself. Paula is here, too, and she can tell. So I walk in his office. I don't know what we have to talk about, and I totally missed the fact that you introduced me to Markelle Fultz's mother. Mm-hmm. Like I walked into, did that happen, Paula?
It sure did.
I walk in and he said, "Hey, Curtis," he said, "this is Miss Fultz." I said, "All right, whatever. All right, so Mike, blah, blah, blah." I'm talking. And we leave and Paula's like, "You know, that was Markelle's mother." And I'm halfway out the gym. I'm like, he did say Miss Fultz. I was so focused on what I wanted to talk to him about. And I'm just totally skipping over Markelle's mother. But look, my last question here, it's a fun one as well. We have something here called the Starting Five on the podcast. I asked Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill 5 questions. They get 30 seconds to answer. I'm going to ask you one of today's questions. You got to pick your starting point guard. Are you going with Chris Paul, Magic Johnson, or John Stockton?
All right, so I heard their answers, and they're great answers. So just to be different, I'm not going to go with Magic. Magic is one of my favorite players ever. I'm going to go with Chris Paul.
Ooh. All right.
Chris Paul is one of the fiercest competitors I've ever been around. And he clearly has taken every team he's ever played for and made them better. So I don't think you can go wrong by picking him.
All right, so Chris Paul it is. All right, look, Mike, I want to thank you for joining us today. I believe I speak for our listening audience when I say that we hope to see you on the sidelines sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, thank you for what you do. Forget basketball to build those young men who walk the halls of DeMatha. It's more than just basketball, and it shows in your student athletes. Please tell our listeners how they can connect with DeMatha basketball on social media.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity. Steve and I, it's all love between us all the time. So I hope to be able to compete against him this season. And if you want to follow and get updates about how we're doing on Instagram, we're simply DeMatha Basketball. And then on Twitter, we are at DeMatha Hoops. And, again, just thanks for the opportunity to come on. And Casey, Coach Morrison was on a Zoom call with me earlier, so they're chasing you guys too in lacrosse. We know how that rivalry goes. So
I know what he's doing. He's working hard. Good man.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll all get that opportunity to compete very, very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Mike, thanks so much, man. Ladies and gentlemen, head coach of the DeMatha Stags, by the way, the toughest division and conference in all of America, the WCAC. The DeMatha Stags basketball program, Coach Mike Jones.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike. You're the man.
Gentlemen, we had Mike Jones on the line. What are you guys thinking?
For starting with me, class act. Mike's a class act. DeMatha, while there is that rivalry that we've been through, I mean, that's what brings out the respect more is in a rivalry like that. I've watched the games that you have with Mike. I've always appreciated the person he is, walking in, saying hello, how's everybody doing? Again, with a lot of pressure. Okay, both you guys taking over, Morgan Wooten, Dick Myers, a lot of pressure. But both you guys have handled it with such class, and Mike is such a good guy. And like he said, 40 games, calm, cool, talking to you. I see that. And it's what I love is that he said the kids see that, right? Yeah. Because it's not just about Steve Turner, Mike Jones. It's about the kids. It's about showing them what the right things to do are. Awesome guest. Just as cool as they come. And I know you guys have a great relationship behind the scenes, which people don't see. They don't.
But I think you heard it from him early. Us following two legends.
Right.
And not just the basketball stuff that we learned from them. It's just how to be a man.
The program stuff, yeah.
How to handle your kids, how to work with the kids, how to be there for your parents, how to be there for the alumni. The things that they both taught the two of us, I believe, is a big part of why we're having the success that we have in the programs we both have today. And then, like I told you guys earlier, like Mike being able to reach out.
That's cool.
To give some words of advice on some things that he was given. And again, he said it. He saw me going through what he was going through.
Right.
And being able to reach back to a friend and letting them know, hey, do it your way, and trust in yourself were some of the biggest words I've ever heard since I've been a coach. And I truly, truly appreciate Mike for that.
For those of you who do not know, if you're in the DC area and you don't know, shame on you. But there's nothing like a Gonzaga DeMatha basketball game.
ESPN, we're waiting for the 30 for 30.
There's nothing like such a game. And let me take it to another level. There's nothing like that game at Bender Arena. There's nothing like it. The boys on one side, behind the basket, the boys, every basket is electric. Yeah. You guys have got to get, even though it's like $35 a ticket to get in.
It's not that much.
It was like 12 or 15?
$10.
It's 10.
It's 10, that's it?
10.
Paula, you told me it was $20. Did you skim some money off the top?
Maybe.
No, it's a great ticket. You better get it in advance. You're not going to get there at 6:30 tip-off and get yourself a ticket. You buy it like 2 or 3 days in advance and make sure you have your tickets.
You better get there early, too.
Yeah, there's nothing like it because the girls play beforehand, and you're missing out if you miss the girls' game. I remember when Seton played St. John's years ago when who was the coach over at Seton? The taller woman? She went on to coach in Cappy? Not Cap. I'm thinking Cappy Poindexter. I'm sorry. No, but there was some great games in the WCAC. We are truly blessed to have great competition here in the WCAC, as we know from several weeks ago when we had AZ and we had Caleb, right?
Absolutely. Well, go back a little bit further this season in just a regular season game for $5. You go into those gyms if you can get in, right? If you get there early enough and just be this far from the
If
players.
the game starts at 7:30, be there
5:45 latest for those
because
games.
the JV game. If you're not there by
Freshman
halftime of the JV game, you're SOL.
Yeah, you're not.
You're
And then those
SOL.
JV players have about 1,200 people in the stands going crazy
It's gotta be,
if their games are tight.
And
It's got to be a triple header,
you gotta
right?
think about it. There's some kids who play in those JV games that don't get an opportunity to play varsity.
Right.
But to have that experience that's
From
that's-
1,000
that's-
people?
That's like a varsity experience playing at the JV level.
You said
There's
it.
nothing like it.
Markel, he JV player. He wasn't varsity right away. He was JV sophomore year JV.
Played freshman ball, played JV ball.
Freshman,
varsity for 2
JV.
years.
And then
Right.
made varsity and then became the WCAC player of the year.
Those
number
games
one
are
draft
like
pick.
nothing else.
Mike's a great guest.
Yes, he is. Paula, please take us to break.
Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs that stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic. You'll find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerando'neill.com.
If you are looking to increase sales and gain exposure, partnership opportunities are available. Contact our producer, Curtis Cross, today to get started. Email turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com to get started.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by Real Estate is more than just houses. It's about people, too. The Tamara Cusick team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. Visit www.tamaraforhomes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest has done just about everything you could imagine in the world of lacrosse. From high school to Division I lacrosse athlete, a professional lacrosse player in 2 different leagues is also on his resume. He has coached football, girls and boys basketball, and of course, lacrosse. Bobby Horsey has coached in the ISL, the WCAC, and at the Under Armour Underclass Games. He is a colleague of the program, and we are pleased that he is taking the TO with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bobby Horsey. Thanks for joining us for today's podcast. How's it going, fella?
It's going great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Fine. I'm fine. Thanks. We're excited to have you join us today. Your resume, of course, speaks for itself, and the experience you have as a player and coach across multiple sports is admirable. I believe you know the gentleman in the studio with me today, Coach Casey O'Neill and Coach Turner.
Coach, how are you?
You look good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Coach, thanks for coming on with us today.
Absolutely.
Bobby, let's
happy to
start.
be here.
Let's start by addressing your impressive resume. What has drawn you to be so heavily involved in coaching multiple sports throughout your career? What is your why?
My why is to help others, and I've always wanted to be a teacher. My mom taught for 36 years. My family was very involved in our community as a kid when I was growing up, and so I always wanted to be a teacher. Loved having summers off, obviously, but most importantly, I love just passing on my knowledge to the youth. And by doing so, I can do that in, 2 different areas. One is in the classroom, and one is obviously on the field or on the court, depending on what I'm coaching. So that's always been a passion of mine, and it's really come from my mom and seeing her do it for such a long time before she retired.
By the way, Bobby, I just want you to know my son will be under your wife's tutelage in the middle school program over there in Bethesda next year, just so you know.
That's awesome. Well, he's in good hands.
Coach O'Neill here. It's good to hear from you. Appreciate you being on the podcast here with Steve and I. Love doing this and love having great guests like yourself. I've been coaching, it's well over 20 years now in high school lacrosse. And I will say this, you're one of the you're one of the top coaches that I respect in this sport for a few different reasons. One, your honesty. Two, just the care that you have for each player that you coach. And I've seen you do it in different programs. And I kind of want to get to that care, right? And so you do an incredible job with those individuals. But what is your ultimate goal when you get a player? Say you go out there at a lunch break and you're working on a shot or you're working on footwork. But what's the ultimate goal that you have with each young man or woman that you're coaching?
Yeah, to connect with them. Again, the one thing I've heard early in my career was, they don't care how much you know, they care how much you care about them. And, if my players or my students in the classroom, if they don't know that I actually, want to connect with them and build a positive relationship and, just hear me say their name every day in class or on the field and just to be acknowledged, then I can't get anywhere with the X's and O's. So, just, just connecting with them in the sense of, getting to know them a little bit of what they're like off of the field and, outside the classroom, try and get to know their parents as best as I can and, their family life. And just make sure that I make those connections to build this positive relationship so that the coaching piece becomes easy. And it relieves some stress on their side and anxiety for some. But at the same point, for the same reason as in competition, they want to know that I have their back, and I will always go to bat for them. I'll always, be there for them no matter what. So I think it all comes down to showing them how much I care about them prior to, going over the X's and O's.
Got it. Awesome.
Coach, great answer. This is Steve here again. Let's stay there with the relationship with the athletes and the students that you coach and teach. We all as coaches, I think, find that the players and the students give us something back, which is a lot of reason why we are out there on the field or on the court coaching them up. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about, over the years, what are the things that you've gotten from your players or the kids in your classroom that keep you going?
There's so much. It's not obviously not one or two or three things. I think, I think what I get from them goes a long way. I still use some of the things that I said to kids that I had early in my career, back in 2005, 2006, when I was at McDonough and my early years at Landon, to connect with kids today. You're coming up with I'm seeing a lot of the same situations as far as, fundamentals, socially, spiritually, leadership-wise with captains and, getting these kids to realize or helping them to realize that they are leaders when they don't think that they are. So, little things like that I have taken from each player, each student that I have coached or taught and applying it to pretty much every situation that I come into every single day. It's about giving them a good base of knowledge that they can then use and apply themselves. And I want them to be able to own, their progress, their success, even their failures, to own it, and that'll help them grow and to recognize it and to not be stuck in the mud, so to speak, but to use it to make the next right decision in their life. So, I think there's so many opportunities to connect with kids when you're not even thinking of it, and they're not even thinking of it, and you can use those little examples every single day. That's what I continue to do.
Bobby, you played at such a high level in college and, of course, as a pro. Please tell our listeners about the sport you chose, lacrosse, or maybe it chose you, and the experience of being a black player in a sport where historically your teammates in competition are overwhelmingly white players. What was that experience like?
For me, early, it came down just for the love of the game. It's always been for the love of the game for me. I was always in season. I played football, soccer, baseball, basketball, lacrosse. I wrestled one year. I've done a lot of different sports when I was a kid, and even continue to do so now. It just hurts a lot more the next day.
Right.
I was always active, and so. And again, I think it comes down to my parents. They were excellent athletes, excellent people. My mom was a 3-sport athlete in high school and a 2-sport athlete in college. My dad ran track, played football in high school and a couple years in college. And my uncle ran track and tried out for NFL teams, and so I can go on with just the genes, which I have no control over, of course, but at the same time, I think lacrosse really connected with me because it was one that I could apply different skills from different sports. Basketball, soccer, football, wrestling, I put it all together when I played lacrosse. Even today when I teach kids, how to dodge or how to shoot, or, I go back to basketball moves, baseball moves, soccer footwork, that all comes into play when I teach the game today. And I think because I was able to play so many sports, it helped me to be successful in the game of lacrosse. Now, as far as being, a minority in the sport, it's very different today than when I was coming up. For the most part, I was always the only person of color on my team. And at the time, I didn't really recognize it. I didn't really notice it, and it didn't really affect me because, I was amongst good people, good teammates, good coaches. And it wasn't really until late in my pro career where I started to reflect back and see, team pictures and, videos and be like, wow, I was the only one. Wow. I didn't realize that and recognize that. And then I talked to, players like Kyle Harrison and some other, black players most recently. And, they said, I remember going and watching Bobby Horsey. I remember going to see him play at Loyola. I remember going to see him play with the Bayhawks. And it's like, holy mackerel, I didn't even know that I made such an impact, just being on the field and being on the team. So that's been huge for me recently in terms of realizing that. So, but again, as a player, I didn't really think about it, and it didn't really affect me. But I was able to obviously have some success because I really focused on doing the best that I could and being a good teammate.
Bobby, outside of family, biggest role model in your life?
Outside of family, oh man.
Because I know the relationship. You got great relationships back home and wonderful family, but anybody, any coach,
Absolutely.
any player that just sticks out, or person?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination, but in particular, my high school football coach, Joe Carroll, he was always there for me, and obviously, he worked at the same school my mom taught. My mom taught at the high school I went to. I had her my freshman year as a PE teacher, which is kind of cool, but she also had good relationships with people that were in my life as far as coaches and teachers. So, but my high school football coach, it was amazing in how he just handled different players, the conversations we had off the field, and in the locker room or in the meeting room, in the classroom, it's about life. And he was the one that helped me realize what a student athlete actually was. Being a freshman in high school and playing 3 sports and going to class and having a fun social life and all that. He's like, that's all great, but you're here to get an education, and you're here to have a high GPA, and you're here to go to the next level. And he really brought that to me early in my life, and I really never looked back because of that conversation he had with me. My best friend and I, we were the captains of the football team, and he would always pull us in his office, and we'd have 1 hour, 2 hour conversations before and after practice, just about life. And he really showed me what it means to be a coach that cares, but just to be involved in his players' lives outside of the field. So, I think he had an early impact, but, a great impact that has continued in my life today.
Awesome.
Bobby, thank you for that answer. It's Steve here again. You and Casey, and I'm actually going to get Casey to answer this question as well. The two of you have coached together. The two of you coached against each other in many lacrosse games. I'd like to hear from both of you. What's something you learned from the other one? Like, what is something that you had the utmost respect for in each other as coaches and mentors that you would take from the other to give back to your own program?
I just got nervous, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Bobby, I'm going to go with you first.
Oh, man. Casey and I have had some really cool experiences, whether it be against each other, Gonzaga and St. John's or Landon or whatever, Under Armour and coaching together. And, the thing that I got from him the most, again, it comes to those, how to coach with grit and determination. I think Casey has always, I've noticed, has always found a way to get it done. You're down by 5 with 2 minutes to go, you win in overtime, and how does he do it? It's all about that preparation off the field for that situation, in overtime. And, watching or, listening to your podcast and watching him coach and just be a good dad and a good husband, and that's prepared him for that overtime moment as a coach. And that has obviously done a great job using that to prepare his kids for, that situation on the field. So I think that's what I've gotten the most out of coaching with and against him. He never gives up, and I love that.
I appreciate that. And I will say this, going back to, the first time we had met and watching your style, which is such a balance of, I think, the way you played, because you're one of the nicest people I know, by the way, but every story about when you played in pro and college was like, we got a bad dude on the field right here. He's going to absolutely run through people and get where he needs to be. But watching you coach, I always had this admiration before I really got to know you. And then that's where I noticed in those, we'd get so many dinners when we go to the Under Armour or when we were doing tryouts or hanging out, and got to know that calm side of you, that presence that you have. And quite frankly, the honesty, and you talked about it earlier, about the connections and getting to know people and getting to know the kids. And I took that from Bobby, and then meeting a good friend of both of ours, Keith Wilford, who's been on the podcast, and starting to get that inside-out coaching, which I first started to see from Bobby when we started coaching together. Like I said before, I have the utmost respect for him. I think he's one of the best teachers of the game in this area, and then maybe in the country, in terms of individuals and knowing the sport and getting kids to really buy into what he is teaching. So I hope we can coach together soon, right, Bobby? Let's do that soon, buddy.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for your answers, guys.
Bob, please tell us about your club program and how you were getting more young people acclimated to and perhaps introduced to the sport of lacrosse.
So our program, DC Express, and Bethesda Lacrosse Club, I actually coached 2 teams this year. My wife is not very happy with me, but I coached a 7th grade team and a 9th grade team, as well as coaching the girls varsity at Bullis. So, but our club program is one about development, and it's one about helping kids to get better. I don't mean get better in terms of getting a scholarship for lacrosse. I mean get better as far as being an all-around good person. We are not about winning, and we, meaning Ray McGill, myself, Brian McGill, kind of the leaders of our club program from, our first private lesson probably 14 years ago to having 2 teams at each age group, 8th grade through 12th grade now, has just really grown in the sense of, seeing our kids post-college and in their adult life, and seeing how well they took our lessons that we gave them on the field and applied them in their life. So, that's first things first. Yes, we love winning, and we love giving the kids opportunities to be competitive, but at the same time, that's not what we're all about, and it's not the end-all, be-all for us. We continue to grow in the sense of connecting with kids now. As I said, I'm coaching a 7th grade team, so in hopes to stay with them for 3 or 4 years. And all of our coaches will do that with teams so that we can, again, build those relationships and keep it going For a couple of years, I was just having them for one. So, we are very competitive. We love what we do, and we continue to get good kids, and that's really what we look for first, versus just good lacrosse players.
Bobby, you missed your introduction, I think, because we got disconnected. We had to call you back, or you had to call us back. I want to make sure everyone knows it's not just lacrosse with Bobby Horsey. He's coached football. He's coached girls basketball, boys basketball. So, as is the case with any coach we bring on the show, I want to make sure before we end this that I thank you for being a positive role model for these young people. I don't know you as these coaches know you, but I bet you we share this philosophy. Young people are our greatest resource, and to be able to influence the young people in a positive way in a world that will throw so many things at them. Thank you for raising or helping to raise these young people. As you know, sometimes, there's a relationship with a coach where they can confide in you. You have to be coach. You have to be parent. You have to be friend. You have to be, counselor. You have to be a lot to these kids, and you are taking on that responsibility when you don't have to. So I want to thank you for that. And hopefully you and I will meet one day. But, in the meantime, I'm going to do something that our coaches would like me to do. Each episode, we have a starting five. All right, there are 5 questions we ask each coach. They get 30 seconds to answer each question. I'm going to ask you one of our starting 5, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you deep dish, New York style, or Lido's style pizza? And what is on your pizza, Mr. Bobby Horsey?
Bring it. He's a cheesesteak guy from Philly.
I didn't hear what he said.
That is for sure. Yeah, that is for sure. Jim's on South Street, but anyway, I'll keep this. But my son, my 7-year-old son, makes sure that we get Lido almost every Friday. So okay, I'm gonna have to go with Lido just because we have it every week.
Look, Bobby, can I come to your house? Because I've been outvoted my wife is our engineer here. She's on the board. Like the last 3 weeks, I've been wanting Lido's, and we've gone to why are you dinging me?
It's over pizza.
We've gone to a carryout. What did we do like 2 weeks ago? I don't know. We had Outback. I want my Lido's. I want my Lido's. So thank you for saying that. Maybe that's a vote in the right direction. Goodness.
Lido's this weekend.
So what I said, Bobby's from the Philly area. He knows his cheesesteaks. With whiz or without, Coach Horsey? Were you going to ask that, Coach?
Oh, whiz.
Whiz. Sorry,
Bobby. I've done a lot of different spots up there. What's your go-to spot in Philly?
As far as cheesesteaks or just in general?
Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak? Oh, Jim's. Jim's on South Street. And I am a huge Pats fan as well. So, but Jim's number 1, Pats number 2, Gino's, 3 or the 3B for me.
Yeah, I've been to a Gino's. Yeah, this is not. Yeah, I've been to a Gino's. Bobby, thanks for taking the TO with us today. How can our listeners connect with you, your teams? Please give your social media information so we can get you some followers. And we are now following you, of course, but please tell our listeners how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So I'm at Teacher Lax Coach for both Instagram and Twitter.
You sure are.
On there, you'll have content. On there, I have content from a lot of the lessons, private lessons and workouts I do with my kids. So if you're a coach or a player looking for, some drills or footwork to do on your own, I post a lot of those drills and footwork and technique stuff on there. So definitely follow me as well as pictures of my family, of course, and my fire pit and
my man
and big screen projector from the back patio. So.
Well, Bobby, I imagine we're going to cross paths in the next year or so on that Bethesda campus. I want you to thank your wife for being a leader of young men over at the school. Ladies and gentlemen, a gentleman who wears a few hats, each of which encourages young people in the classroom and on their respective fields and courts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bobby Horsey.
Thank you, Bobby.
Bobby, appreciate
you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fella.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I've never met Bobby Horsey, but he is, you told me what we'd get out of Bobby Horsey. You told me he'd be a great guest, and he was exactly that. Thank you, Coach O'Neill, for mentioning that we should bring him on the show.
He's I mean every word that I said about Bobby. He's one of the best. Honest, caring, hardworking, just great person for our sport, for the kids, for teaching. Love the guy. You go and hang out with him, have dinner with him, break bread. He's just the best guy. So we'll definitely have to get together.
Yeah, Coach Turner, have you met him before?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Definitely met Coach. And I would say about both he and Mike, I think the biggest thing, bigger than them just being coaches, is their ability to mentor our youth of today.
Yeah.
And their ability to just continue to give back year in and year out.
You know, I think one of the things that's lost in being a coach is they see you on the sidelines. They see Steve, he is into the game, he's sweating, you know, he's making substitutions, he's calling timeouts, he's drawing up a play. But that is just part of what you guys do. I've coached before, but this is not my time to shine. You guys coach big programs, huge games, national level games on ESPN. You guys have been across the country and in some instances around the world coaching. You're teaching these guys how to bunk together. You're teaching, you know, when you go on travel, you're teaching them, you know, what to put in their bodies. You're teaching them, you know what, that's fine. Go FaceTime your girlfriend. But you know what? At 10:30, it's lights out. You know, you have to do those things. You're teaching them some things that, you know, unfortunately, sometimes they may not get from home, or you're reinforcing what they get at home. So that's a part of what you do that I believe is just as important, if not more important, than teaching them how to set a back screen or, you know, come across a curl and make a layup, because most of your athletes will not play pro ball.
And it's sorry to interrupt. It's that connection that Bobby was talking about, making that connection with the kids so that they in turn have the trust in us. And I think, you know, both guests we had tonight, I think, do it so well. But it's also the lessons, and you asked it to Bobby, what we learn from the kids, what the kids give us back if we let it. Mike talked about it early on where he was like, and I was the same way when I was a first-year coach, very stubborn and doing it my way, right? But then if you open your eyes a little bit and let the kids teach you something.
I think Keith Wilford spoke to that.
Keith spoke to that as well. I mean, incredible guests that we've had on this podcast. And, I mean, Curtis, you said it right there. I mean, it's you slowly but surely learn those lessons as a coach so that you can foster and facilitate these kids into that path we hope they'll take.
I mean, I just continue to believe it, and I've heard it from so many older coaches and family members. Kids are the greatest teachers of the world.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that we learn so much, just as much from them as we try to give to them. And certainly can appreciate and thank every young man, every young woman that I've ever coached or had an opportunity to work with, mentor, be a leader to.
We'll be back in just a bit. A Squared Home and Office Solutions. A Squared is the go-to source for home and office network and audiovisual solutions. They will link technology to your lifestyle seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Richard Butts Jr., Jean and Clorinda Carter, Sean Clifton, Paula Cross, Justin O'Neill, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Amy O'Neill Richard, Damian and Brooke Stevenson, Marcus Taylor. If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Submit an Idea.
This segment of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray Cruz. Take advantage of historically low mortgage rates for your first, next, or refinance mortgage with Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray believes the home mortgages should be about relationships. With rates as low as 2.875%, you can now save on your monthly mortgage or choose to cut years off your mortgage, saving tens of thousands. To learn more about your options, call Ray Cruz at 301-761-2278 or apply online at raypcruz.com.
Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right into our weekly sports wrap-up. Major League Baseball, the World Series is now at 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. When I emailed you guys this script yesterday, it was blank, was it not?
It was blank. It was
and by the time I went to bed, the Dodgers are now up 3-2. Is this the series we expected?
I think the Tampa Rays are young. They don't know any better. They're playing with house money.
They're going to owe you $1.
They're having fun.
They're going to owe you $1 in a minute.
Deer Park. Is it half full or half empty?
It's like most of the way
It's pretty much empty, which might be the Rays' fate tomorrow night. But I will say the Dodgers can taste it. They better be careful because, like I said, those Rays.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I can't not talk about the World Series without going back to my Washington Nationals, which was such an incredible run. This time last year, it's the 2-out hits that make the difference in the World
Dodgers
Series
are doing it, right?
and the postseason, and decent pitching, kind of those middle innings. But Clayton Kershaw lifted some demons last night.
Yeah, he did, because he's always having trouble.
It's the 2-out hits to me. Both clubs are doing it in the most dramatic ways. So
Dude stumbled on the way home, turned around and went back. The catcher missed the ball, and he turned around and went
that
again.
was and the guy that made that hit, he hadn't hit in the. He wasn't even suited up in the ALCS.
He was the last guy on the bench,
they're
right?
like, okay, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. Just need a base hit. But he did it.
Come on up and give us one.
And that's what he did.
We'd love Game 7. Wouldn't we all love Game 7? What would that be, Wednesday night?
I think they go, what's the name? They go Tuesday, Wednesday,
So they go Tuesday, Wednesday. If the Dodgers don't close it out tomorrow night. So.
Just for what you said.
It's been good. It's been better than expected. I'll put it that way.
I do like Game 7s. It would be nice to get that on Wednesday night. You're right.
Those games, if you're not a fan of the teams, they go so late. You could have the 8th and 9th inning be a good 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're up till midnight.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Easy.
All right, so right here, live on the air, if they go Game 7, I'm not betting you unless we're going $5 on that one.
Uh-oh.
If it goes Game 7, we're going all the marbles, $5.
What do you think, Coach Turner?
Go for it.
You can get a $5 Bicky bag,
that's like
right?
one of those big Deer Park
you
things.
You could probably get 2 holsters of fries.
I could.
One for each side.
That gas money, the closest where Rogers is up in, what is it, Burtonsville?
No,
Aspen
Aspen Hill
Hill.
or Burtonsville.
All right.
$5?
Only if they go to Game 7.
Only if they go to Game 7.
Yeah, man.
Everyone heard it. All right.
There we go.
Steve, what are you thinking about the World Series, Coach Turner?
Hey, I told you who I wanted. They're ahead. They need to just go ahead and finish this thing
That's
out.
Grandma's team, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to NFL.
You know who else
I'm
loves
sorry.
the Dodgers? One of your old friends, by the way.
Oh, he's a junkie.
He's going to love to know that we're talking about this right now.
You won't be able to shut him up if they win.
He's a Blazer.
I'm waiting for the text.
Who's that, Vic?
Oh, man. He's
Big Dodgers fan?
Huge.
big Dodgers fan.
Said he
Okay.
couldn't sleep after
Big
that
Dodgers
play.
fan.
That stumble, bumble, and the catcher dropped it.
Okay.
He said he couldn't sleep, sick to his stomach.
All right, in our weekly NFL chat, we've got the Patriots who are struggling. The Steelers survived to go 6-0, and the troubles that the Cowboys were having with Dak at the controls have only been more exposed without a steady guy QB. Talk to me about what we learned in Week 7.
Well, last week. Go ahead, Coach. What do you got?
Cowboys, go ahead and take your lumps. I've been taking them for a while. Take them. Take them. All you Cowboy fans, all you Washingtonians who like the Cowboys.
How does that even happen?
How does that happen?
It's like being a Laker fan.
Bandwagon.
Someone living out in...
Hey, watch yourself. Watch your mouth.
The bandwagoners.
It's like being a
Okay.
Dodger
Jump
fan.
on that bandwagon right now
Okay,
to go to
watch it.
nowhere.
right.
We know this. 13 squads, 2 wins or less. 13. in
By the way, that was a
NFL.
dirty hit on Andy Dalton. I didn't like that hit.
Oh, by Bostic?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, again, it's part of the game.
I don't want to see
It
anyone
was
get
dirty.
hurt, you know.
They said he might not get suspended, but he should be fined. He
Right.
should be fined for sure.
That was a heck of a hit. But who is their fourth string? Who comes after whoever the guy is that went to James Madison, by the way?
That's right.
The quarterback who came in went to
The Dukes.
JMU.
The Dukes.
The backup for the backup.
Which
for the
is
backup.
the best
Hey, you gotta-
program
James.
in 1AA.
Yeah, I was going to say, JMU's pretty darn good.
Yeah. But
Was Brian Mitchell not our fourth string quarterback for years?
He played.
Did he play at quarterback
He
a
ended
couple
up
times?
playing a couple times in
the
some
body bag
games.
game or one of
Yes,
those games up in
he did.
Philly or something, wherever he got knocked out.
So who the heck is their fourth string quarterback? I don't know.
They mentioned it on the game yesterday.
they?
But
Okay.
let's get off the the Cowboys. They got enough press for.
All right, well,
how
look,
bad they are.
last night
You fell in love too.
I stayed up for an overtime game in which I saw a young man grow up in front of a national audience. How good is I've been sleeping on Kyler Murray.
He's good. It's my fantasy quarterback.
I mean, so I'm watching the game and I'm like, wouldn't this be a nice story? Seattle was undefeated, but for him who probably watched some of Russell Wilson, as he was in high school or college, now he gets on that stage with him. And Kyler Murray, first of all, I never saw him sweat. He looked like he was in control the whole time.
No.
The kicker made 400 field goals, but missed the one that counted. And then they get an interception on Russell Wilson. And he tactically moves them down the field.
Yep.
And that field goal kicker gets to redeem himself. Kyler Murray is, okay, I'm stamping it. He's certified. He's a certified beast.
He's a beast. He is a total beast. And talk about an athlete. Kyler Murray was debating whether to play baseball.
Right.
And
My
then he goes into the
12-year-old daughter reminded me of that.
debating. I mean, it's just those athletes. Russell Wilson was a heck of a baseball player, too.
Could he at some point pull the Dion?
At the quarterback position, that's difficult. You know,
That's a
Dion's
quarterback,
a corner and then playing outfield.
And doesn't have to be every
quarterback.
down either as a corner, right?
That's tough.
Quarterback's playing every down.
I'm with you, Curtis. Kyler Murray's growing on me ever. And that's who we all were duped to think that RG3 was going to be back in 2012, which he did have an incredible season.
He got co-MVP or something, or offensive MVP, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just...
And then decided he didn't want to run anymore? Didn't want to scramble anymore?
No, they decided they didn't want him to run and scramble anymore.
You're correct.
I will say,
They
though...
decided that.
We were knocking...
All of a sudden, they wanted to make him the pocket quarterback.
Which is not what you drafted him as.
We were knocking the NFC last week, which it's still the AFC's Super Bowl to win or not. But I feel like there's a few more NFC teams, with Arizona being one of them.
Arizona showed
Seattle.
up.
I think San Francisco's slowly getting healthy and coming back a little bit.
My
You
second
saw
team.
what Garoppolo did to the Patriots.
Really? The Patriots? Ken got benched in that game, was it?
3 picks, baby. So did Big Ben. Big Ben threw 3 picks too, but
They
still
said
won.
Cam is still the starter. They just, I guess they got him out of harm's way because
they gonna put in?
they weren't winning that game.
But the NFC, a couple of those teams are slowly creeping up, and Tampa, the NFC South is getting a little better.
Atlanta's terrible, aren't they?
And the Bears, are the Bears for real?
I don't know.
There's
I'm a
just
Lakers
so much
fan.
to talk about.
With
We'll
all,
find
with
out.
all these teams,
We'll find out tonight.
We can go back to some stuff right here, and this may take us in a whole other direction. But Cap could play for somebody.
All right. You said it. There's
A
opportunity.
lot of people that need quarterback right now.
A lot of people need a quarterback right now. Could Tua learn from him?
He could.
But I think Tua's got a nice one, and he could. Absolutely, he could.
He could.
Right.
But Fitzpatrick is, that's another big headline, is that they bench the guy and they're 3-2, and they take him out.
Doesn't he look like Conor McGregor? I think he
His
does.
beard like way out.
I think he
Harvard
does.
man right there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our weekly sports wrap up. Let's take it to break.
Be sure to listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
At Peace Players International, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities of conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Submit an Idea.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerando'neill.com. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By partnering with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. With thousands of listeners, subscribers, and website visitors, your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Our partners also benefit from our exposure on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and Apple Podcasts. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
The 2-minute drill.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to discuss another week in fantasy football in the NFL. Our man on the streets from Capitol Grill downtown, Joey T.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
What's up, Joey? Talk to me. It's another week of fantasy football. I know you've got some stuff to talk about. Tell me 3 people who performed very well this past weekend in the NFL.
Oh, some massive weeks. Starting off with Tyler Lockett. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. 15 catches, 200 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like, 80% of the league doesn't even have 200 yards. He did it in one game.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy. Devontae Adams. If you have both of those guys on your fantasy team, you had a pretty darn good week because he went for 13 catches, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Between the two of them, I mean, there's whole wide receiver offenses that didn't even touch those numbers, much less those guys doing it themselves.
That's a lot of fantasy points, Joey.
Ridiculous. Another guy, a little bit less, but still just kind of a big day, was Harrison Bryant, rookie wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. 4 catches, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was the number 1 tight end of the week.
All right, and with OBJ out, he's going to get some more touches, huh?
Looks like it.
All right, talk to me about 3 folks out there who did not do what they were expected to do.
The flip side of the Tyler Lockett coin was DK Metcalf, who had actually been very consistent and a rock star all season. 2 catches for 23 yards. I know he single-handedly gave me a win because the opponent I was playing had him, and he did nothing.
All right, that works.
Yeah. DJ Chark hurt me a little bit. 1 catch for 26 yards. That does nobody any favors, and definitely need a little bit more from him going forward. Lastly, one of my favorite tight ends this year and going forward, Jonnu Smith. He's coming off an injury, but he did play. Only 1 catch for 9 yards. He's still a top 5 tight end, but that hurt.
All right. Talk to me about what you're looking forward to this weekend in fantasy football. Who should we be looking at?
Some guys you should pick up and, that might be still available after waivers clear. Marcus Johnson, wide receiver from the Colts. He had a 100-yard game before he went on his bye. But when you go on bye, sometimes the momentum kind of slows down and people forget about you. So he may still be available. Pick him up. He looks like a trusted option in the passing offense. Irv Smith Jr., Alabama wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. He's had 2 50-yard plus receiving games before his bye as well. He's a guy that has some potential for upside going forward. And last but not least, one of my favorite pickups of the week, really, really good chance he's still available, DJ Dallas, running back from the Seattle Seahawks. All the other running backs on the entire roster are dinged up. He is an undrafted rookie. He's super talented. I really liked him coming out of college. I own him in multiple dynasty leagues. He's a great pass catcher. He is a guy that you can really help you this week and potentially going forward, depending on the injury situation.
Joey T, you're always the man with all the information. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Joey T, Capitol Grill, downtown D.C. He is Joey T 5656 at Twitter. Joey, we'll talk to you next week, fella.
Thanks a lot. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, fella.
The final word is brought to you by
Healthy Baller. Become your own success story. At Healthy Baller, our team of specialists is committed to providing injury recovery and strength and conditioning training tailored to individual needs. Watching our clients break barriers fuels our passion for athletic development. With scheduled sessions or drop-in classes, Healthy Baller has a success story waiting for you. We offer group and team training, individual workouts, or semi-private training. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, first we want to thank you for listening. You know, we get together once a week. We have a conversation centered around sports or what's happening in the world. And, you guys came up with this idea back in late June, I think. And it's just 3 guys and an engineer. Thank you, Paula. We sit around and we have a conversation. We brought on some great guests, and we hope you guys are learning as much as we're learning about this and having as much fun as we are. We do invite you to become a friend of the program. We do rely on contributions to bring this podcast to you each week. Contribution amounts start at $25, and of course, your contribution will get your name listed on our website and mentioned on the podcast each week as a friend of the program. We also offer advertising opportunities for businesses looking to gain exposure. We are in front of thousands of people O'Neill viewers and listeners. So by becoming a donor, sponsor, or partner, we will connect you with our audience. Exposure with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill includes advertising across 15 podcast platforms, YouTube, and on our website. Visit our website to view our 2021 sales kit, www.turnerandoneil.com, and then click partnerships. Connect with us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, Twitter at Turn On Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Take a TO, do a search. Follow, like, add, and spread the word. Look, I'm not going to mention every place we are. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just type in Take a TO, and you will find us. Feel free to email your show questions, content ideas, comments, and critiques. We may not get to all submissions, but we want to hear from you at turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com. From time to time, we do read listener and viewer questions on the air. Join the conversation, become a part of the team, as we are a growing community here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Before we sign off, we must thank our engineer, Paula. How was the podcast behind Mission Control for your week number 2, our week number 17?
It was fun. It was awesome, and I learned a lot. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, guys.
Thank you for being here and dinging me while out of turn or whatever you did. But
Well, it's about pizza, so that's fair.
she's going to ding me over pizza?
Just take the Mandalitos one of these days.
Thank you. That's all I want.
This weekend, pizza.
This
Litos.
weekend, maybe.
Never cut corners.
And it's going to be sausage and pepperoni.
Let's get Litos.
Well,
Litos needs to be a
can I throw
sponsor.
one in there? What about Litos or stained glass?
Or the corner pub.
Did you just drop a starting 5 on us? Did you really just do that?
It's a closing 5.
Oh! So she's writing in her own parts. Okay, who am I to say?
Right now, stained glass.
Stained glass is Beast Pizza.
I mean, I got to go with corner pubs right there across the street.
Stained glass or Litos?
If convenience wasn't a factor.
Both of them show up at your door. What are you eating first?
If the corner pub hadn't changed their pepperoni and sausage, it would be them. But when they changed that, it became.
But see, we
stained
need to
glass
get
pub.
the corner pub part of this and stained glass.
Now,
Let's bring them all in.
Now wings, corner pub all day long.
Old Bay Lime.
No
All right,
lie.
we're
I
giving
like
too
Old
much
Bay.
plug
No
here.
lie.
We got to get them in. I love it.
And we know the folks
Hey,
at
maybe
Litos.
that's
We
the
need
way
to-
they come in.
Yeah, we got to get them in. Look, so Stained Glass, Corner Pub, and Litos, we are open for your sponsorship opportunity right here on Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners. We encourage our audience to support those who support us. Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
Another fun podcast. Loved our guests today. Loved their wisdom. Loved everything that they were able to embark about them as men. They're wise. Can't ask for anything more.
Love it.
Coach O'Neill.
2 incredible guests. I love how Mike said it's about time. We were just talking about it. It's about time that I get on this, which means the podcast is getting out there. Bobby knew about it already. I mean, he was ready.
He said he listens.
Yeah, as soon as I texted him, awesome, let's go. We're making some noise here. We're going places.
We're making a little bit of noise. Thank you,
Great
everyone,
guest.
for listening. It's a couple thousand people minimum each week, so we really appreciate that love. But we want you to also show us some love by getting in there and giving us a contribution, because it does take dollars to make this happen. Am I right, Coach Turner?
Most definitely.
2021 merch is coming, so get your pocket straight, because we're selling T-shirts, hats, and I can't give away anything else. Coach Turner is going to take care of that. Coach O'Neill, this is your week for a quote.
This quote is very fitting to the guests that we had in the coach-driven episode. So this is from Joe Ehrman, who's a former NFL football player, coach, and author, motivational speaker as well. One of the great myths in America is that sports build character. Of course they can and they should. Indeed, sports may be the perfect venue in which to build character, but sports don't build character unless a coach possesses character and intentionally teaches it. Sports can team with ethics and character and spirituality. Virtuous coaching can integrate the body with the heart, the mind, and the soul. Joe Ehrman.
Thank you, Coach O'Neill. Paula, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media. Take a T.O. with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a T.O. with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcast, and other popular podcast platforms. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Be sure to search and subscribe. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Partnership opportunities are available.